Why I don't hate Shi Faust. She's actually okay. Not good, not amazing, just okay. By me. People don't like Shi Faust. Shi Faust, as an ID, has been expressed within the community to be a dog shit / not an effective ID. I personally believe, even while those claims hold their merit and definitely reflect some parts of her toolkit, there is more than meets the eye to this ID that a lot of people simply write off. Do I think this ID is great? Fuck no. While there are redeeming qualities for it, I find it not to be my first pick whatsoever when it comes to building bleed / poise. Do I think this ID is dog shit? Also no. I think she's mediocre at worst and decent / pretty good where she exceeds in. I'll begin listing some off momentarily. However, first and foremost we have to get her biggest drawback out of the way. Shi Faust's main drawback is her being mainly a bleed ID, which means she has to compete with the likes of Faust, who's most notable for having one of the most insane passes for any bleed character in the game. Whistles is broken, and even when she's on the field, it's at least one of the lowest SP, which is insane for starting a fight. What does Shi Faust have in comparison to this passive? Selfish poise count generation that has a cap that relies on her gimmick, which is really bad, to reset. Shi Faust easily loses the fight in terms of team building, as getting early SP gain is pretty damn good. The support passive is okay though, considering most bleed teams rely on Pierce now, as aiming for the bullseye applies pierce damage up to the ally who inflicted the most bleed potency. The most weird gimmick in the game. Utilizing her defensive skill, Shi Faust will enter ready to shoot state and prep her bow, which ramps up over time, giving her more damage on her skill 3 too. Utilizing this at first starts out strong, and by turn 2 you will have 60 shield applied to yourself, but the more you utilize her defensive skill actually, and prepare it, the less shield you get. So you can't tank with this for long, you can't hit multiple enemies with this, and any attack skill that's not at max capacity will feel overall more like a waste. It's not the worst gimmick in the game. That title belongs to Sunshower Heathcliff in the way he uses self-sinking as charge, which is dog shit. However, it's too damn weird to utilize correctly in every fight, which heavily impacts the viability regarding this ID. The buffs for defense / 3-2 if you want a refresher. How do we work around this weird-ass gimmick? Don't use it. Like, actually, just don't use it. Unless if you have a substantially built team where you can have a character preparing for 4+ turns, I see no feasible reason to actually utilize this gimmick. The funniest goddamn thing regarding this ID. Skill 3-1 is unironically just better to use anyways. It clashes extremely well for standard fair ID. Bleed count / build up is so easy to build nowadays, you could easily see her clash with 24 coin power turn 2, which isn't nothing. 24 coin power isn't the best, but for lust skill, notably better than Faust's lust skill, which takes 5 million years to finish by the way. Just don't even think about poise with this ID. Unless if you're churning out skill 3-1s every turn, this is an ID where you actively want to avoid critting so she can have coin power, which I consider to be awful. Outside of her skill 3-1, she doesn't really build any poise count whatsoever, which is extremely goddamn weird considering half of the other Shi IDs, as dog shit and horrible as they are, do this completely fine for the most part. Remove the idea of poise from her kit completely because it's not going to last whatsoever. Just pretend this is a purely bleed ID, as the areas where poise matters anyways is the worst part of her kit. What situations is it better to use Shi Faust than Faust? Clashing. Over time, as the game moves forward, Faust's clashing power just ends up getting worse and worse. She's still an amazing support class ID, and her Gaze Affliction is absolutely busted, but she has significantly seen a decline in usage for later cantos due to her not being able to clash well as other IDs, typically being inside the backup units. Faust is actually okay for bleed / poise teams. This contradicts what I said earlier, but hear me out. I'm saying niche bleed / poise teams. While I'm mainly talking in regards to the main game during this video, something you should actually try out while running Mirror Dungeon is running 3 Kurakomo/3 Blade Lineage and Shi Faust. She actually is pretty vital to activating both the Bleed and Poise ego gifts, and definitely a good slot in for them considering how much her coin power amps up with the offense level and how the Shi association ego gift affects her especially. Unironically a better choice than Faust Faust in this scenario. It's weird to say, but yeah, no. She is actually a better choice. And this leads me to my next point. Yes, unfortunately, she's a Mirror Dungeon merchant. Another case of ignoring what an ID was built for actually makes the ID perform better than intended. It's really depressing to think about, but yeah, it's the truth. In conclusion, just use Faust. And if you don't have Faust, just use Shi Faust. While Shi Faust isn't the worst thing in the world, she's far from the best. I don't think she's horrible, but she is not that great either. I don't hate her and will use her on niche team comps like 3 Kurakomo and 3 Blade Lineage as I said before. Thanks for watching. My opinion is not fact, and I can be wrong. Take all of this with a grain of salt as I'm often edible making this slideshow.